Hi, I'm Stephen Francis Jones with SF Jones Architects. My office is in Marina del Rey. Been in business for 22 years now, and I do mostly commercial and residential. Yeah,
And you're leaving out restaurants.
Well, leaving out restaurants.
For commercial restaurant, we define it. It's Christopher Grubb. You're here with House Tipster. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Can you tell us about some of your projects?
Yeah, well, I got my start with Wolfgang Puck. I did Spago in Beverly Hills, and that was my springboard. But since then, a lot of the projects that we do we're coming up with the concept, the initial design. We did Lucky Strikes Bowling, and so we created that. More recently, well, not recently, I guess about 5 years now, we did a project in Manhattan Beach called MB Post, and you know, it was a nice project because I live in Manhattan Beach, and so I was able to kind of share some of my experience of being in Manhattan Beach and bring some of the elements to it. And Chef Dave Lefevre wanted to have that flavor of the community, and the building was an old post office, and so that's where MB Post came from.
And I do know your work, Spago. So I'm going to say it's a sophistication. You get a little touch of whimsy in there on certain elements, very subtle.
Yeah.
Especially Lucky Strike. What a fun project that must have been.
That was like, you know, when I first got it, I was like thinking, oh my God, I'm going to do a bowling alley. But then the whole idea was that it was a crossover. You know, it wasn't that you bowl here and you eat here. It was like you brought everything together, and really exciting. It actually was one of the first bowling alley lounges, that was out there. I became the kingpin of bowling.
The kingpin, nice branding, nice branding. So for House Tipster, is there a material you love using for your restaurant commercial that goes into residential? Is there something that everybody should have in a project or think about?
Well, you know, in the restaurants, we're always thinking about how do you make things timeless and then also last long, because obviously, you know, they take a beating. Recently we've been working with doing some green leaf restaurants, and their feel is more fresh, you know, with the salads and stuff. So we've been using some concrete tiles. Concrete Collaborative that makes a tile that it's, you know, beautiful scale, and then also using some tiles that would have some patterns and prints on it.
Oh, that's fun.
You know, so that way you can, you know, get a pop of color. Maybe we put it on the bar die, you know, somewhere that you don't necessarily see because it's covered with chairs, and then you know, you get some color and you get some different textures.
I give lectures. We've covered small space living.
Yes.
And so these zones, do you also look at that in your residential design, especially urban areas, to make a space feel bigger? Is that part of what you're doing?
You know, it's interesting. I'm doing a project right now in Santa Rosa. It was one of the fire victims, and it's an older couple that have, you know, their children are grown, and so we've kind of designed their house almost like a hotel. Like it was like the master bedroom, the great room, and then it was like 3 suites for each of the kids to be able to come and visit.
Yeah.
But so, you know, taking the scale of each one of those rooms, making it intimate, making it their own, you know, and then it all looks out to a common space with a pool and nice view of the vineyards.
Nice.
So you know, I'm always thinking about how you create you know, different atmospheres. In the main great room, which is a big room, which is very high ceilings, and you know, a place where you can see the vistas and then also be able to, you know, socialize.
Right. And the great room is here to stay. I mean, every project that I have, small rooms, we're getting rid of dining rooms for this family experience. So you're, you know, on par with that, of course.
Yeah.
And then, so you mentioned a little bit restaurants and zones, and is that something here to stay? Is it going to morph into something else?
Well, you know, what it's kind of morphing into, I see, is a lot of these tiny restaurants. You know, the scale of restaurants have been growing, you know, but it's the big chains that are doing them. And so to get more of the mom and pops, this concept of using tiny restaurants with common spaces is kind of similar if you would think about like a potluck dinner. You know, everybody brings their own flavor of food to the thing, and you get to try it all and sit in an outside area. So that's kind of what I'm seeing, you know, is that you're designing these, you know, I'm using one project and using actually shipping containers, and kind of using shipping containers to be a module for the kitchen. And the outside area becomes like, you know, the seating area for shared vendors.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, Christopher, thanks so much for having us.
And then, so your website, obviously, people can go and definitely look. This mix of what he's just talked about, the pop of color, Lucky Strike is a great project to see. So thanks again.
Thanks, Christopher.